are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 103 of the College Loop Podcast. Daniel, we're now at 103 episodes. How you doing? How you feeling, buddy?
You know, I'm doing good, Dylan. Fall camp got wrapped up today. The Red Sox beat the Yankees 8-1. A lot of good stuff going on this weekend.
And, I mean, you're not wrong, but there was one bad strand of news that came up. Cam Franklin has sadly committed to Ole Miss. And I'm not too hurt about it. But I do hate the fact that we were basically told the week leading up to that he was an Auburn lock all the way through. So this offseason pretty much proved that NIL does not really care about crystal balls whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And whether or not Ole Miss actually has whatever amount of money they promised him remains to be seen. But for now, this one sucks for the Tigers.
And there are some rumors floating around that it could have been that he didn't want to wear Under Armour, which if that's true, that's not a good look for Under Armour whatsoever, and for Auburn being one of the top schools in the Under Armour contracts. I think Auburn's maybe in the top 3 of those schools. I think Notre Dame is one, and who else? I can't even think of another Under Armour. So there's another Under Armour school in the SEC, is there? South Carolina, and is that it? Auburn and South Carolina.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has Nike, and they have really nice uniforms. So
yeah,
and their athletes don't complain about their gear, but that's neither here nor there. But a couple of days ago, we'll get into fall camp in a second. But a couple of days ago, Payton Thorne has been declared the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers for the bare minimum, the start of the 2023 season. And Daniel, first initial thoughts on Payton Thorne being announced starter? I know it's something we pretty much kind of expected, but
yeah, like you said, pretty expected. I predicted Thorne would be the starter about a month ago. Nothing too crazy about that. But one thing that Hugh Freeze said at his press conference today that I was there for was that the last 3 practices since then are the best days Robby Ashford's had. So Robby's still grinding, and and he also mentioned that Thorne had looked a little complacent over the last 3. So you never know. I mean, Thorne will be the starter week 1, but beyond that, everyone's got to keep working.
Yeah, and you kind of went ahead into the scrimmage thoughts for a second, but because I love the fact that Robby Ashford is not just going to back down from being the backup quarterback, and it's kind of funny that Robby Ashford's going to start this season off. He started off last season as the backup quarterback, and he maybe will find his way back in the starting job like he did last season. And like you said, Robby Ashford has been working his butt off the last 3 practices. He is not. He didn't have a single turnover in today's stat line.
Nope.
And it's just kind of showing and telling of the kind of player that Robby Ashford is. And yeah, you can always bash the leadership ability, or you can always bash the fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve, but you cannot bash his work ethic. You cannot bash the kind of player he is, the heart that he carries whenever he steps on the field. The Iron Bowl is the most telling factor of his character and him as an athlete. His ability to just put his body on the line. Mm-hmm. For a game that's already set in stone that it's a loss, he is still out there competing and trying and working really hard to try to get Auburn to win. And with Payton Thorne starting off for UMass, and again, we don't know what's going to happen after that, but it's worth mentioning that. What do we think Payton Thorne's 2023 season will look like, stat-wise and just playing-wise?
Well, I think we'll have somewhere between 2,500 and 300 passing yards, or 300,000. I mean, if he only has 300 passing yards, something went very, very wrong somewhere. Maybe about, I saw at Michigan State, he kind of would bounce somewhere between 17 and 25 touchdowns. So I'll go somewhere in there, maybe about, I think it will have double the touchdowns to interceptions he has, though. That's a kind of bold prediction I'll make. So I guess by that logic, probably about maybe maybe somewhere between 5 and 10 interceptions. Or I'll narrow it down a little. Somewhere between 7 and 10 interceptions is kind of what I'm thinking for this year.
Yeah, and what I've been thinking, I've been looking around at what he did at Michigan State, almost at Mississippi State, but what he did at Michigan State, and just the team that's been built around him, wide receiver wise. I'm thinking around. I'm gonna go 27 to 2,800 passing yards. To I want to say it'd be hard for me to say anything above 30, but I want to say like 26 touchdowns to I want to say like 9 interceptions, which is a great season for an Auburn quarterback from the looking over the past few years. And I think that we're going to see. I mean, we've been hearing that the pass protection has been pretty iffy, so he might have to be having to roll out a little bit. And I don't want to say he's going to get sacked a lot, but I'll say it rushing wise, I'd give him like let's go like 300 yards rushing with maybe like 2 or 3 tutties. And that's pretty for a guy who's a pass first guy who has the ability to run if everything breaks down. I think that's a pretty good stat line for a guy who, I mean, we've just been talking about the fact that he might not even be have the starting job come Cal in week 2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I mean, and to talk about spring practice for a little bit, I mean, just going over what Hugh Freeze talked about from today's presser. I mean, Robby Ashford just is not going to sit down and take the backup position again. It's just not something that he wants to do. He wants this to be his team. He knows that it can be, and he knows that he has the athleticism. I mean, Hugh Freeze even mentioned in Thursday's press conference that Robby Ashford is the most athletic freak player that he has ever coached.
Yeah.
And that's a lot considering the fact that Malik Willis was physically gifted in what he could do with the football in his hands. And watching Robby Ashford just go out these last 3 practices and just absolutely show out. And I think he had 1 turnover over the past 3 practices. I think because he back-to-back practices, including today, that he did not have one. And his stat line for today, I mean, just to go Payton Thorne's is 12 for 17, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Robby Ashford 8 of 15, 2 touchdowns for him. And then if you want to account for Holden Geriner, 7 for 11 with no touchdowns for the Geriner. But the what's the word I want to go here? The consistency and the ability to get the ball to your receivers or get the ball out of bounds without having any turnovers is the key to all 3 of these guys. But from top to bottom right now, it looks like Robby Ashford does have a good chance to where he could win this job by he could I don't know how there's going to be practices in between now and fall camp's over, but practices are still going to be going on. Robby Ashford could still find a way to take this job back.
Yeah, he definitely can. And I've kind of been along the thought line that this offense is going to be in such an experimental state probably for the majority of the season that Hugh Freeze and Philip Montgomery are going to be plugging and pulling every which way they can and just finding what works. And I don't think the quarterback position is any different. Because Freeze even said today, like, Thorne's going to have to play pretty good. Because the gap is real narrow. And, you don't want to get caught falling behind if you're Thorne.
Yeah, and Hugh Freeze's job right now is just find a guy who can get the ball to these awesome receivers. And the first guy I want to talk about today, Shane freaking Hooks, dude. I don't know if you saw that. If you have not, go to Twitter, Instagram, wherever Auburn football posted. Shane Hooks made a grab in the back of the end zone.
He did.
In the end zone. A one-handed grab that he showed off all 6 feet, 4 inches of himself to go up and grab that ball and snag it right out of the air. And, I mean, that just kind of shows that guy has not been getting starting looks yet. And it looks like he is going to be seeing the field a lot come September 2nd. But other wide receivers, talk about Camden Brown, I think made a great grab today. It did not get out to the media like Shane Hooks did. And we had a couple of receivers who are still dealing with some injuries. Coy Moore, Malcolm Johnson, and Nick Martin are all guys who were dealing with injuries and were not involved in the scrimmage today. But overall, I've heard I've heard all but bad things. I guess I've only heard good things about this wide receiver core, which is awesome.
It's a position that Hugh Freeze said early on was going to need a lot of overhaul going into the season. They went to the portal. They got 4 quality receivers out of the portal from some great programs such as Ohio State and Cincinnati, as well as like Jackson State was pretty special last year, and throw in Jair Shorter from the North Texas Mean Green. And I really feel like the receiver rotation with, I think Camden Brown's going to be a starter. I just still kind of feel that way. But yeah, I think it'll be a mix of those 5 guys, heavy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth mentioning some of the other injuries that Auburn is also dealing with. Just to shift over to the defense for a second. Jalen McLeod and Keldrick Falk did not participate today, both jack position guys, but I think Elijah McAllister kind of picked that up for those two being gone. Austin Keys also was not participating today. He was dealing with, I believe, a shoulder injury a few days ago, or last week. So just keeping him from getting injured is how I read that. But this defense, it's been very wishy-washy on good and bad things from this defense.
Yeah.
From what I've been hearing, Hugh Freeze does not like the fact that this defense cannot stop the run unless the box is loaded. And that's not good for a defensive line that we've been pretty positive about. And the fact that I believe Austin Keys not playing probably was a key contributor to the fact that the linebacker core is also just not very good outside of him.
Yeah, because like I was kind of expecting, the defensive backfield is going to be a strength. The secondary, like everyone knows that. We feel pretty good about that. Like you said, the defensive line, we thought we've all been pretty high on here, and for good reason. Like they have a lot of guys returning, picked up some good fresh talent either through high school kids or the portal, and we kind of thought this linebacker room was going to be wishy-washy, but the front 6 is going to have to get it going somehow.
I mean, it's worth mentioning as well that on outside of the run defense, the pass defense was actually pretty good. They were getting pressure on the quarterback, and the jack position that's where they popped off the most. But most SEC teams you're going to be playing against, looking at Ole Miss, looking at Georgia, looking at Arkansas, and I believe Alabama as well, A&M, are going to be teams that are going to be really heavy on the run. And I just named, I believe, 4 of I think I named like 6 of the 8 SEC teams we got to play this year. The SEC is a run-heavy league, and if Auburn can't get a team, a front 6 put together that can shut down the run without having to put everybody on like in a gap, I mean it's going to be a rough year defensively.
Yeah.
And it's just looking at the linebacker where you got to get Austin Keys healthy. Keldrick Falk has got to be healthy. Jalen McLeod's got to be healthy because those are all going to be guys who are going to contribute very much to this team. And I really want to go through and watch. I would love to see if they have the scrimmage recorded anywhere, because I would love to see what linebackers are getting plugged in. Because if Larry Nixon's not part of the run defense formations, then I don't know what's going on, because that's all he did at North Texas, i.e. the Auburn feeder school that is the Mean Green. But I mean, and I've heard some things about just how every position in the defensive back room is just apparently today was a very lax day. Like no one came into the scrimmage with a very high motor is what I heard. Did I hear that correctly?
You did. Hugh Freeze said they came out flat. He said the same thing at the last scrimmage, and he said the spring game was the same. Obviously, the weather for the spring game was terrible, but he said maybe it has something to do with playing in a big empty stadium, just eerily quiet in there. But yeah, it is something he addressed.
Yeah, and I heard the defensive backs, they came out kind of lax, and then they kind of picked up towards the end. And hopefully that is something that only has to do with how quiet the stadium is, really. Yeah. Because if it's like a mood thing, then that's got to be fixed very quickly. I'm not scared of UMass, and I think Auburn will out-talent them no matter what, even if Auburn comes out not wanting to play football that day. But Cal could definitely take advantage of an Auburn team that doesn't really have the motor
Yeah.
Sanford scared the crap out of Georgia last year, and that team went to the national championship. I mean, it's something that has got to be fixed, and hopefully it's something that's kind of just happened just because of an empty stadium. And another thing that we've been hearing about a lot is the fact that Auburn, they had SEC. Oh, sorry, I just hit my mic. Auburn had SEC officials in the scrimmage today, and apparently either they were just trying to hit a quota, or Auburn has a tendency to have a lot of penalties called on them, because apparently there was penalties galore. And apparently there were several big runs that were called back to the holding, and that's just not a good look right off the bat at all. Especially considering last year it felt like a lot of all of Auburn's good plays in a bad season were called back because of some stupid call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Freeze mentioned how flag happy the refs seemed. So maybe they're just knocking rust off too. Maybe it's a discipline problem. So we'll see, and hopefully Auburn can get that figured out.
Yeah, but it is worth mentioning, with all the negatives, that's all that they really had to deal with. Some injuries, run defense was kind of several big runs were called back, and penalties were just called out of the place. But a lot of good things. We mentioned Shane Hooks. We got to mention the fact that they ran the ball extremely well, and that Brian Battie and Jeremiah Cobb both continue to impress as coaching staff. Jeremiah Cobb, I think I read, it looks like he came from high school to college and did not skip a beat talent-wise. And that's something you'd love to hear for a guy who's hopefully going to be redshirted, but I think it's going to be kind of hard to keep him off the field.
Yeah, I think he'll be redshirted, but still they will take advantage of the 4 games he can play in.
And you're going to have to. And then also, but in fact, that Brian Battie has been announced as the starting kick returner, something that we pretty much expected to happen. As soon as you pick up an All-American kick returner, it's kind of stupid if you don't have him as that. And Keontae Scott was named as the punt returner, and Caleb Burton as well, as a guy who had a lot of hype around the punt returning game. Keontae Scott kind of worries me, though, because hopefully it was just an issue with the last administration, but Keontae Scott seemed to have a lot of muff punts last year.
Yeah, I could always feel him coming sometimes. Like in the LSU game, I could feel that one coming. So, he's had all offseason to prepare, and hopefully, like you said, they got that ironed out.
Yeah, and Caleb Burton as well, and his speed that we've been seeing throughout these fall practices. I think Auburn could find a way to have some really, really good returns in the 2023 season. And we mentioned earlier about Payton Thorne, Ashford, and Garner stats. In fact, they didn't turn the ball over very much. Only 1 interception. Great look. Again, we mentioned the pass rush. And Xavion Too Tall Miller has looked really, really good. The JUCO product from the 2023 class. I think he's 6'6", like 3 something. Has really been balling out, and also have Gunnar Britton, who might be playing a little bit of guard to start off the season, which I was not expecting at all to hear that.
I wasn't either. Freeze said he can play every position, and that flexibility really helps. Britton's a very team-first guy. He'll do what it takes to help win. So hopefully they can put together a group that can just really be effective and create lanes.
Yeah, and I mean, if this O-line can even be just 0.5% better than last year's O-line, that's already a tremendous step up, because last year I feel like was bottom of the barrel O-line wise. But Gunnar Britton alone, I think, changes the outlook of this O-line. Him, Dylan Wade, Avery Jones, and you just got to fit in where you want to see Xavion Miller, Muskrat if he's going to see the field, Tate Johnson, and Jeremiah Wright as well.
Don't forget Jaleel Irvin.
And Jaleel Irvin. Almost forgot about Jaleel Irvin. He was like a later pickup, wasn't he? Was he a transfer?
Yeah. No.
Is he not a transfer?
He's been at Auburn for 6 years. That's crazy.
Holy crap. Well, and we start off the show talking about Kamarion Franklin's not decommitment from Auburn, but commitment to Ole Miss, that other school over there in the state of Mississippi. But to look at other recruits that Auburn is looking at right now, I don't think Kamarion Franklin is going to be that huge of a loss. If Auburn can pick up guys like LJ McCray, a 4-star D lineman, I believe he's number 37 prospect in the class. You also have Zaquan Patterson, 4-star safety, And of course, there's one guy that I am just blanking on, and I'm staring right at the screen, looking at the Hoover linebacker, Bradley Shaw, and DeAndre Carter, all guys Auburn is really heavy on right now. And those 4 guys right there, I did the math. If you pick up those 4 guys, Auburn gets the number 6 class in the country.
Dang.
And that's adding in the fact that if you can just not let anyone else get commitments in that time period. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe DeAndre Carter is going to be committing on September 3rd. All right, I believe that's right. September 3rd, yeah. DeAndre Carter, expecting a commitment from Keldrick Fox, little brother JJ, in a couple of weeks. And we don't heard much about Audrey McCray or Bradley Shaw's commitment either. But all guys that if Auburn can pick up, I mean, this class is going to skyrocket. And just looking at just what Hugh Freeze has done for Auburn's recruiting is outstanding. And the fact that Ole Miss is still at 24 and Auburn sits at 14 right now is very funny to me. And I love looking at it considering the Ole Miss fans that have been talking about how they out-recruited Auburn for something. Again, considering the fact that they think they out-recruited us for Lane Kiffin. But neither here nor there. And then you're looking at Yahoo Sports has announced Auburn as the number 1 team to bounce back in 2023. You fire the Potato Man, and then you go 5-7, pick up some steam with Cadillac as interim head coach, and once Hugh Freeze completely changed the culture of the team. And I think Auburn is probably a clear number 1 selection for that list.
Yeah, Nebraska, they're not really close yet. I had a few more teams in mind that just kind of could be on that list.
No, I'm mistaken. A&M was also on that list. I'm trying to pull it up. I was trying to find it earlier, and I just kind of said, screw it. Oh, here it is. All right, so we got Boston College at 2, Cal at 3, Colorado State at 4, 5 is FAU, 6 is Kentucky, and I'm actually very high on Kentucky this year. I think Devin Leary is going to change them a lot. 7, Louisiana Lafayette. 8, Miami, another team that I'm sadly high on. I'm trying to convince myself otherwise of that. 9 is Oklahoma, and 10 is Texas A&M. So Auburn is number 1 on that list, and I think it's outside of a couple of those teams. I think Oklahoma could very well fire their head coach, Brent Venables, coming into the SEC.
I think so.
Auburn definitely deserves to be on that list. And some other news to go about with Auburn football. They have announced that the 1983 teams, 1993 team, and the 2013 team will all be honored at 3 home games, 83 being Georgia, 93 being Ole Miss, and 13 being Alabama, which is hilarious considering how that 2013 team beat Alabama that year. So... Yeah. And 93 is going to be a sad one because that team should have went to the national championship, but some NCAA stuff, investigations are going on. So, yeah, that sucks. In 83, that's going to be, I believe, Bo Jackson. Yeah, that'll be a Bo Jackson game. And that he'll be in attendance for, even though I think Bo's in attendance for every game. But he'll be on the field for that one in the middle, getting represented for the 83 season. And just lastly, for football, Walker White. Auburn's number 1 quarterback from the class of 2024. Their huge target, the guy who's been recruiting nonstop to bring other guys to the team as well. He had a 5-touchdown half in a scrimmage versus another Arkansas high school powerhouse. And the throws he were making were enough to kind of make me a little hyped up for what we could see from him in 2025. I think he just needs a year. He just needs a year to develop under Hugh Freeze, and chef's kiss.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and the touch he already has on the pass. I mean, he was throwing perfect passes over guys, and from what I've been hearing, this school, that's the same school that Braylon Williams goes to, the Arkansas running back commit. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just watching those beautiful passes were enough to make a grown man cry. Because he is going to be a stud whenever he gets to the Plains. But with that, stay tuned to the next show where you're going to get a very boring preview. We continue our game-by-game preview series with New Mexico State. And just to go through the standings of it all, me and Tar are at 8-2 going to Mexico State. Daniel, you are sitting at 6-4 going into New Mexico State, and Colin is sitting at 7-3, all of which bowl eligible teams. And I believe we're all going to add at least one more win to our resumes there. And I think Tar actually is going to be bringing on a guest to talk New Mexico State with us. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
I love it.
But with that, Daniel, how you feeling, buddy?
Syllabus week is out of the way. Had some fun last night. So today, I'm feeling a little loopy.
Feeling a little loopy. Well, if you can see, I am also wearing my Feeling Loopy shirt. Kind of represents how I'm feeling right now. And if you at home, listening in your car or on your couch or wherever you listen to the show, you can also get your own Feeling Loopy t-shirt. All you have to do is scroll down to the link in the description and click that warreport.com. And you can get your own Feeling Loopy shirt today. It's only $25, but believe me when I say it's the best $25 you will ever spend on a t-shirt. It's comfy. I love it. My girlfriend wears it all the time. It's just so freaking comfortable that I wash it at least twice a week. I can't not wear this shirt. It's beautiful. It's got our logo on the neckline. It's got the beautiful font that Ike made for us, Feeling Loopy. And of course, it's got that beautiful TWR Podcast Network logo on the sleeve. And everything about it is gorgeous. Go buy it. I highly recommend it. And I'm not just saying that because it's got my show logo on it, but I genuinely love this shirt. And Daniel, I know you love yours too, right?
It's great. I wear it all the time. It's actually in the dirty clothes right now, ready to be washed. So I'll be wearing that again soon.
But again, bring yourself to thewarreport.com. Go to the shop, get your own Feeling Loopy shirt today. And Daniel, let's talk about some hoops going on. We got another.
Never too early.
It's not really a news thing. It's more something I saw on Twitter. But Chaney Johnson, I don't know if you saw. Did you see that video?
I saw the video.
Chaney Johnson, the UAH transfer, has maxed out the vertical jump. Which, I mean, what's the height what's the max height on a vertical jump? I'm trying to remember.
I've got no clue.
But it is well over the rim.
Yeah.
Like, I'm expecting he might have better hops than Devin Cambridge.
He might.
Let's see. Max vertical jump height. Let's see. If I can pull it up quickly, that'd be great. It's at least, I don't want to say 40 inches, but I'm trying to just find that anywhere because holy crap, dude. Chaney Johnson, I've been very high on him ever since he got here, and Auburn got a lot of flack for the fact that they picked one of their huge transfer pickups that we got was from a FCS team or D2 team. But dude, Chaney Johnson, I've just heard nothing but raving reviews about what he can do. I think he's going to end up he's going to start at the 3 for sure.
I think so.
Because the way a dude who can jump that high should also be able to shoot the 3 like he does. Like that's unfair. And I don't know how he flew under the radar like he did.
I don't know either.
And I'm just eagerly waiting for Auburn basketball to start up, both men's and women's basketball, because I'm really excited for both of those sports going into the end of 2023, but start of 2024. And lastly, to wrap up the show, baseball. Edouard Julien on Wednesday, we actually missed this when it happened. Edouard Julien had a 4-hit game versus Detroit Tigers, his first ever of his MLB career. And I believe he had a 2 RBI, 1 run. And I think that's all that was on that. But yeah, 4 hits for Edouard Julien, continuing his outstanding tear of the MLB and just showing that Auburn is baseball U.
Sure is.
And just last bit of news, just other Auburn sports. Volleyball is going to be starting their season off very soon. They got one more. They're doing as we're recording this. So yesterday, as we're recording this, they are still, I believe, in the second set of their game against Georgia State because they're in Atlanta, I believe. If I remember that correctly. Georgia Tech. So see, Tech take set 3. So play 2 more sets. So they're about to go to 5 sets in Atlanta right now. But Auburn volleyball, the matches are free. Just go to Neville Arena and go sit down and watch some volleyball. I mean, volleyball is a fun sport to watch if you really enjoy it. But yeah, go support volleyball. Go support all the other sports Auburn has. Hockey just got done with their tryouts, I believe, or day one of their tryouts. So their
Very
first
nice.
tryouts as a D1
D1.
D1 in air quotes, if you could not hear the air quotes, D1 season as well. But yeah, Daniel, let everybody know they can love you, find you, and support you.
You can follow me on Twitter. Man, one day I'm going to get that right on the first try. You can follow me on Twitter
It
right
redirects.
here at Daniel J. Locke, or you can follow my written work for 1819 News, for Auburn Daily, or for Braves Today, two Sports Illustrated Fan Nation properties covering the Atlanta Braves or Auburn Tigers and Atlanta Braves, respectively. A lot of Auburn fans are Braves fans, so got to tap into that crossover market.
Well, a lot, not me. I'm a Dodgers fan. It's backwards. There we go. The mirror does not really help my case. But yeah, with that, I'm Dylan Larck at You Will the Tank on Twitter or X, whatever you type into your browsers or whatever your app says. You can just go right there at You Will the Tank at YABOI the Tank. And if you want to catch the College Loop, literally everywhere, you got us on Twitter /X. You got to do both because everyone has different opinions on how they feel about the rebrand. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, where you can see Colin's TikTok dance whenever he records it. We just got to get him sat down in one place to do it. And if you want to listen to the show, of course, you have us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, pretty much everywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, you have us right here on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. Leave some comments and some hot takes for the season. What do you think Payton Thorne's stat line is going to look like in 2023? And leave us some 3 Article Thursdays as well, because we love featuring those on the show. I think last time Tara was on the show, we got all of y'all together, let y'all put your comments up on the screen. It was a lot of fun. Y'all had a lot of good takes, a lot of bad takes, a lot of funny comments as well. But again, with all that being said, it's been the College Loop podcast.